Hello everybody, how are you all? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. I am plumbobd and today we are doing another one of Risshella's shell challenges. Now this one is a little bit different because in the original one I didn't know what style I wanted to go for, so I just started building New Crest and then we moved on to Snowy Escape because I decided I wanted to go for a Japanese vibe, Japandi vibe. But in this one I knew I just wanted to build in Tartosa because it's a game pack I had for quite a while now and I have never built there. Now we all know the gameplay is not super nice, and also the create a sim is okay actually, and build and buy is not super useful as well because you have a lot of things that are useful for wedding venues and not so much for residential homes. However, I do really like this pack just because of the word. Sorry, but the word is Italian inspired, if you didn't know. A lot of people say that it's Mediterranean inspired. It's actually Italian inspired, specifically Italian, because if you look at the name of the lots are all in Italian. And I love seeing foreign creators, like English speaking creators, butchering the names of the lots. Love it so much. But yeah, so that's essentially the main reason why I wanted to buy this pack, just so I could have representation for my nation, my culture. And honestly also because since now I am a content creator here on YouTube, I do want to own all the packs so I can provide with as much diverse content as I can for you guys, and I hope you appreciate it. So this house, I wanted to go for a typical standard Italian house vibe, and it then eventually turned out into more of a stereotypical 2000 inspired Italian house. I don't know why I just went for the very stereotypical house in 2000s, and as much as I can remember it, because I was born in 1999, so in the early 2000s I was a child, so I do remember the world around me, but you know, it's not as vivid as if I were a teenager or if I had been a teenager or an adult. So I am going first with a stucco, which I thought was perfect for the house, for the exterior. I already had used it once in one of my personal save files, like playing with my own Sims. And I thought it turned out really Italian looking. That's like one of the typical suburban houses in Italy. Maybe it's a little bit too big. I'm not sure, because of course Italy is a small country, so houses are gonna be small as a consequence. I know in America, for example, they have much bigger house. Like for example, this might be a standard looking house or even a house on the smaller side. But in Italy, this is probably a mid-size to big-size house, honestly. Especially for the plot of land. Of course, I could not change the shape of the walls because it's a shell challenge, so it's not my fault. But yeah, I would say this is, if this house was shaped better, this would probably be a mid to big-size home. I eventually managed to fit in only there's a kitchen, a living area and a dining area. There's a library / entertaining space. There's a big bedroom downstairs, which in my head is a spare bedroom. And then upstairs we have, so downstairs we have a bathroom. And upstairs we have another bathroom and a master bedroom. Now, this shell really pained me because of curved walls. You have probably seen it. We are like 4 minutes into the speed build and I have struggled so much with glitches. First, every time I placed a platform, not a platform, like a flooring piece, besides a floor, like a diagonal wall, the diagonal wall would disappear. But that's an issue of diagonal walls. But then, if you didn't notice, the downstairs was completely in the dark, not in the dark, the opposite, was like it had outdoor lighting, even though it was a closed room. If you notice, I clicked on the room and you could see that the diagonal walls were not part of the room, so technically the house was not inside, it was outside. So I had to go and trace different rooms all around the downstairs in order to figure out what was the final glitch. And eventually I cut out a corner, because that was the corner that was making the whole downstairs have outdoor lighting. So the downstairs is fixed. You have indoor lighting all throughout the house, except for one little corner, which we do not care about. That little corner will never be used. And also more glitches is when I try to place windows on the exterior of the house. Of course, where would you place windows? I mean, in the downstairs, they would like jump up for absolutely no reason. I absolutely despise the curved walls. We all know they are very, very glitchy, and I do not use them very often in my builds, and there's a reason for it. Moreover, when I was furnishing the interior, you see that I have a hard time placing, not really placing furniture, but then picking it back up when I decide to change the placement, or I decide to change the whole piece of furniture. That's because curved walls, for some reason, do not let you really pick up the objects, and I was used to it, but I thought that issue would happen only in the curved part of the room, but actually it happened even in the downstairs, like right underneath the curved walls. I had to go really, really close to the objects to try and pick them up and move them. So please bear with me if the speed build is a little bit jumpy here and there, but I had to get close to the object in order to change the placement. But yeah, we are almost finished with the exterior now. We are finished building. We have done the windows, the roofing, the wallpaper. I eventually went for the wallpaper from My Wedding Stories, which I think is meant to be for the interior, because I see it has some floor trim underneath, but it also looks good for the exterior. It looks like just general stucco. In Italy, we don't really use a lot of brick, a lot of siding. We just use either regular concrete or I would call it stucco. It's not really stucco, it's like just regular paint. We just paint the outside, we paint over the bricks, and that's it. We don't really do siding. Also, we have much heavier houses than in the US, in Italy, because I see a lot of television TV programs that are based in America, where people build houses, and your houses over in the US are literally made of cardboard, and no wonder why they fly away when you have a hurricane. I don't mean to be rude or to be harsh, but when I see that happen, I'm like, no wonder. Like, we have in Europe, we use bricks to make houses, not like literal wood that you can drill through. But anyway, we are moving on to the landscaping, and I just went with the landscaping from the debug section, or better, the live edit section from My Wedding Stories, because it has some, I'm not sure how they are called in English, like we call them maritime pines. So like they are pine trees that are made to be in the sea area. Those are like specific from the sea area. In fact, you see they are not typically shaped like pine trees. They are more open. They don't have branches underneath usually, or just on the top. And then I went around with some olive trees, and I placed a lot of bushes, flowers, and more plants, just to fill up the lot and make it blend in with the world. I thought it looked really nice eventually. And I also went around with some wisteria, because we don't have that many climbing plants. We do use climbing plants in Italy, but they are not usually wisteria. Sometimes we have it, but it's mostly, I have no idea how it's called in English. It's like the standard ivy, sorry. Yes, I did know how it was called in English, ivy. But yeah, so that's basically it for the landscaping. I went around also with a lot of rocks. I had to size them down because they were absolutely huge. But we do have a lot of rocky soil in Italy. And for the patio area, we are just furnishing with a light wood flooring. We do use either wood like hardwood flooring or tiles on the outside. And if you have an outside space, you're gonna really make use of it. You're gonna have a lot of plants to make it look cute, not for the rest of the neighborhood, just for yourself. We don't have HOAs in Italy, and that's a concept I will never understand in my life. Why do you have HOAs? Like, to make sure the neighborhood is cohesive, it's like a community. To me, it just sounds like a headache, and thankfully HOAs are not a thing in Italy, because if I had a Karen in my neighborhood, I would absolutely not stand her, and I would throw eggs at her house every single night. But anyway, let's move on. We are still landscaping the exterior, but now it's more like inside plants, house plants that you usually keep. What would you usually take care of? And as I was saying, if you have an outside space, you usually make the most of it, because we have a nice weather, typically mostly in the center and southern Italy. I am from the northern part, so in winter you're not gonna do much with the outside because it's gonna be cold. It's usually as cold as Germany or France would be. So yeah, but if you do have an outside space, you're gonna make the most of it. You're gonna have some seating areas, not so much on the front, but that's just how the house turned out, because I had a patio in front, so I just put some chairs. You would see chairs like this or sitting areas like this in apartment blocks, especially if they are made of old people. You would probably have like a little plot of land in front of the house before the public street starts, and there you would have probably some chairs, maybe a public barbecue, and the old people would just gather around and play cards and just try to spend some time together, because they are usually lonely. I'm sorry to say it, but that's true. What is this voiceover today? Because I'm being very critical for absolutely no reason. Sorry. I will try to be nicer. But we are almost done with the exterior. We have, I think we have done already the sitting area in the back with just a small barbecue. I didn't go for a pool because it just wasn't fitting it with a lot. And yeah, I think now we are actually furnishing the interior. I am carrying on with the light wood flooring, because that's typically what you would see in a house in Italy in the early 2000s, even though I think I changed it and put tiles in the public area. No, actually we are now furnishing the exterior, sorry. And yeah, I was saying, it's just like a picnic bench with a barbecue and some plants. I'm not really putting that many activities outside. I think I put a swing set for children and maybe a basketball hoop. But yeah, on the interior, I eventually swap out the hardwood flooring for some tiling, at least in the living areas, just because since Italy is a hot country, you don't usually see hardwood flooring that often. If you do see it, it's mostly in the bedroom area. Now, of course, I'm not speaking for the whole of Italy. I'm just speaking from my experience of over 20 years of living in this country. So I think I am quite experienced, but if some other Italians is about to come for me in the comments, say, this is not a typical Italian house. Sorry, this is my experience. Take it as you please. Or you are probably seeing that I am putting some lights that I usually never use in the Sims. Those are like it's not a triangle, but it's almost a triangle. It's like a light fixture with 3 pointy lights, and those were, I cannot swear on this channel even though I do not monetize my videos, they were the gem the gem in the early 2000s, and also dark blue kitchens. When I saw the Dream Home Decorator trailer and I saw that dark blue kitchen, I was like, oh, this is bringing back so many memories from the early 2000s. because I don't know, that combination with the dark blue and that warm toned wood really screams early 2000s in Italy to me. Even now, looking back at the video and looking at the kitchen, this just screams early 2000s to me. Even the chairs that I picked for like the bar stools, with the matching chair for the dining table, and the tiling for the wall in the kitchen, it just all screams early 2000s to me. But yeah, the floor plan is what it is. I'm sorry, it's a shell challenge, so I had to work with the shape, the exterior shape I was given. However, I think it turned out pretty nicely, and it makes somewhat sense. Honestly, if I could change something, it would probably be the skill room. Like, it's like a library with some activities. I think there's a chess table or a cards table. That would probably not make much sense in an Italian house. We don't really have skill rooms. If we have some skill building items, let's say in Sims terms, we will probably have it in the living room, but the shape of the house was just working this way. And so that's it. And also upstairs I would have liked to fit another bedroom, but with the curved walls, I don't remember if you saw me struggling with the upstairs, but if I try to place some walls where I shouldn't have, the roof was gonna come through the house, and I absolutely hated it. So I just had to work with only one bedroom and one bathroom. But maybe we can say this is a young couple that's gonna probably move out soon. This is quite a big house and quite lived in to be from a young couple, but I don't know, maybe this is from grandparents that are now, maybe their children moved out already, and maybe they got the house renovated as a present. I don't know, I didn't plan a storyline for this house, honestly. I was just vibing and furnishing how I would have furnished a house in the early 2000s. Of course, maybe that TV that I'm placing in the living room is not super realistic, because in the early 2000s we definitely did not have flat screens, but there are no box TVs that look good, honestly. I think there's the second type, the second cheapest TV that's somewhat nice, somewhat realistic, what a TV in Italy in the early 2000s would have been, but that's way too small anyway. We used to have bigger screens. But yeah, so the downstairs or the main living area is coming together. As you can see, I placed the kitchen, I placed the the dining area, a big table with many chairs, and also the table pushed against the wall. That's something that's quite common in Italy. You usually, just to have more space in the house, you usually push one side of the table against the wall. And then if you have a big gathering where you would need probably all the seatings available, you just like move around your living room. Of course, you cannot do it in The Sims, but I think 6 seating for a house with only 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms is more than enough. You also have 3 bar stools, an outside area for dining, and also an outside seating area. And did I already mention the couch? You have plenty of armchairs spread throughout the house, so your Sims have plenty of room to move around in the house, and or like plenty of room to sit around in the house. Sorry. And now we are furnishing the skill room, which is the room that I told you I'm not super proud of, because it doesn't make so much sense to have it in an Italian house, but it's just how the floor plan worked. So I just placed a couple of bookshelves from Dream Home Decorator. I don't know, I used a lot of Dream Home Decorator and My Wedding Stories in this build, because My Wedding Stories, of course, because it's the Italian inspired house, and also I used a lot of Dream Home Decorator because it just screams Italian early 2000s to me. I don't know why. It just is just amazing. That pack really works for every single occasion. You can do it modern, you can put some touches in a more not ancient, it's like a more older build and make it look like it has been slightly renovated. You can use it for a Y2K vibe. This is like, to me, the true Y2K, not the flashy and very patterny things we are seeing now. Maybe that was true for the US, but definitely not Italy. I would say that in Italy, the early 2000s were a mixture between the 90s in the US and the early 2000s in the US. Definitely we had a big inspiration from the Friends TV show, even though that was in the 90s, and I feel like that carried out throughout the early 2000s, of course, because the show kept going from the 1994 to 2004, something like that. So maybe that's probably why. And also another TV show that we have in Italy that I'm sure none of the Americans watch, but in Italy people are still obsessed with it, or I would say not really everyone, but mostly like stay-at-home moms or grandmas. It's The Bold and the Beautiful. It's like a series that started, I don't know, like over 30 years ago. I think we are probably well over 30 years now into the series, and it's like, I don't know, 15 minutes episodes, and it's just like a family that, or rather two families that run two different fashion companies, and they are all like somewhat married with each other. They have children between each other. It's like the family tree in that series is a mess. And honestly, I think the writers have given up by this point in trying to keep up with the family tree. And it became such a meme, at least in Italy, that when we say that people like really got together in a romantic way, like a lot of people, a big group got together in a romantic way, please do not think in a sexual way. I'm saying in a romantic way. We say that it's like The Bold and the Beautiful, which in Italy is just called Beautiful, because of course we could not pronounce such a long title in English, especially like older women in Italy. But yeah, so this is the last video that I am recording in real time before before I go back to Germany for my thesis defense. So I will catch you all in like next week, not even like the week after. Videos are still gonna be coming out, hopefully. I still have to pre-record them. Videos will still be coming out, but they will be pre-recorded, so I will see you all live, not live, more or less live, on the 22nd of January, I believe. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the speed build as of now, and screenshots should be coming up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Please also follow me on Instagram. I am plumbobd with an underscore over there, and also on TikTok. There I am just plumbobd, the same as YouTube. I will catch you all in my next video. Goodbye!